Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Bonny Weekly Podcast. And as we start each one, the people who have been here the longest know that there's nothing weekly about this podcast. That was my intention when I first started doing this. I wanted to start pushing myself to create more content. So I kind of backed myself into a corner of producing a weekly podcast every Wednesday. And I've probably done about 6 of them in about 6 months. So there's absolutely nothing weekly about it. But yeah, that's kind of the running joke. But it's not been for the lack of ideas. I do feel like a bit of a fraud sometimes because it's been about 14 years since I've been in prison. And as much knowledge and wisdom and, stories I have, it's all old. I've moved on. I'm old now. I'm nearly 40. I haven't been in prison since I was in my late 20s. So, but it is interesting. I still get all the comments from you. I'm still listening to your comments on Instagram. For those of you who aren't following me, come and find us on Instagram, William Bonny 838. I've been thinking about doing a TikTok channel as well, maybe retelling my story on TikTok. So I'll let you know if we go ahead with that. But I've got some new ideas. There's plenty of things that I want to do as a way of making up to you guys for my lack of content for the last couple of months. I'm going to put out a video every day this week, so you'll have something to listen to. It'll be about 6 o'clock every night, so tune in and have a little listen. We've got lots to talk about. Let's have a little look at the list I've got on my phone. We've got what to take into prison, Islamic gangs in prison, racist police, USA versus UK prisons, men versus women prisons, prison experiments. You'd be surprised how many experiments have happened over the years on prisoners in the UK and the US. It's quite shocking. What happens after the door is shut, dealing with the death of a loved one in prison. Listeners. The listeners is quite an interesting one. I was a listener for quite a lot of my time in prison. For those of you that don't know, a listener is someone who's trained by the Samaritans. The Samaritans come in like once every couple of weeks, and they train people up to then listen to other inmates in jail. So if someone's having a hard time, for example, they might press the bell 9, 10 o'clock at night, middle of the night, 2 in the morning, something like that. And it would be my job to just go down there and listen to them. You're not there to give advice or try and steer anything, but you're just there as a kind of shoulder to cry on, and basically like exactly what it says on your T-shirt. You're there to listen. It's very difficult sometimes though, because when people are crying their eyes out and it's a problem that you think you can solve, it's very difficult to sit there and not give advice. But that's what the Samaritans help us do. The Samaritans help us, sort of trained us up to be able to just listen and not talk back. So I might do a video about that this week. We can talk about, let's have a look, the different jobs we've got in prison, how to defend yourself, cellmates, open prisons, double ACAT prisons. Something I was going to sort of bring up as well is these police visits. I don't know if they still do them. But what you could do is if you had loads of crimes that you wanted to get off your plate and you was in jail for a long time, you used to be able to contact the police sort of through your solicitor and tell them that you wanted to admit to a bunch of stuff, but you wanted a day out with your family sort of thing. So the police used to pick you up from prison, take you back to your home area. Obviously you'd go through, you'd confess to whatever you did, and then they'd allow you later on that day. You'd have maybe half the day at home. So they'd go home, they'd let you, do whatever you had to do with your missus or boyfriend or whoever was at home in the house. And then they'd take you back to prison. I don't know if they still do that, but it was a bizarre little thing. It was a little quirk of the justice system that if you admitted to a whole bunch of crimes and got some crimes off their books, they would just let you have an afternoon at home, obviously to perform whatever debauchery you wanted to do with your partner. So that was quite interesting. I don't know if they still do that anymore. So hit me up in the comments if you've ever had one of those visits. But I did know a couple of people that did that sort of thing. So what's been happening in my life lately? The reason I haven't been really doing many videos is I've been suffering with a little bit of depression lately. Obviously, people who have listened to the podcast before know that, I've talked about mental health. I've talked about the struggle of my mental health after coming out of prison. I've never been one of those people that tries to act the big man or anything like that. And I think that's been quite unique. And I think it's why a lot of people listen to this podcast, because I try not to act like the hard man. I was tough and I was big and strong for parts of my time in prison. But for the beginning sort of 2 or 3 years of me being in prison, I was weak, I was scared, I was vulnerable, I got bullied, I hid in myself for years. It was an awful time. And I think I just tried to kind of like block it all out and hide. It wasn't until I spoke to that comedian, Matt Price, that I then talked about my time at Portland and the early days at Exeter. And I kind of told him, oh yeah, no, it wasn't that bad. But then when you actually go back and look at it day by day and month by month, and I kind of, wrote out the timeline, and I really realized it was pretty awful, and I didn't deal with it very well at all. Kind of bottled it all up, and and then hope that one day everything's just better. But it really was a struggle, and it affects me outside now. So a lot of the coping mechanisms that you have in place in prison, big, aggressive, be loud, be obnoxious, that sort of thing. You do what you have to do to keep people away from you. None of those coping mechanisms work in the real world, And I've talked about this lots before, so we're not going to sort of go into it now. But a lot of those coping mechanisms don't help in the real world. And I found myself being made redundant again from the NHS. And it hit me quite hard because I was on annual leave at the time, and they just sent through an email because everybody else that was being made redundant had some sort of meeting, and they just assumed that I was in the meeting as well. So I just got an email saying, oh, as you now know, you're being made redundant in the next 2 months. Your job is at risk, and we'll do our best to find you another one, but you may want to start making other plans. That kind of email. I really did find myself just feeling quite useless. And obviously that kind of spiraled down into a depression. And I really did struggle to kind of make these videos, make more content, do anything other than just kind of survive, really. So apologies, I'm back now, big and strong, and looking to make more videos. We've got something else coming up that's quite exciting as well. I'm going to talk about it maybe over the next, after this week. It's something that people have been pushing me towards for a long time. So stay tuned. There's one of my listeners individually that has pushed this, and you are. Thank you very much for organising it. And it might actually be happening very soon. So watch this space. I have been continually trying to write this book of mine. I want to write a book about my life story. I had no real interest in writing this book, but until I started telling my story, and then other people were just like, come on, you've got to write this. You've got to put it into writing. So that's going to be my next focus. Once we've done these videos 5 days a week, I'm then going to maybe cut down to just doing one video a week, but I will write a couple of hours a day so that we can get this book out. I want to have an actual book, and I'm going to have an audio book as well, which is going to be more sort of podcasty style. So I'll read it myself. Do you know what someone said to me the other day? I've got a voice like, what's that black guy called? The one who's got the really silky voice. All I can think of is Martin Lawrence, and it's definitely not him. No, it's definitely not Martin Lawrence. Who was it? Hold on, let's ask Google. Who played God in Bruce Almighty?
God was played by Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman. Someone said to me the other day that I had a voice of a white Morgan Freeman. I'm not sure I'm quite there, but that's a very good compliment. And a lot of people have said they like my voice. So do you know what? I've even tried doing one of those things because I bought a mic now. I always used to do these podcasts just talking into my phone, but used to get a lot of like my breath sort of hitting the phone, and it's just a little bit amateurish. So I've actually put my hand in my pocket and bought a mic so that I can talk to you guys now. And I tried doing one of those videos where, because there's loads of videos on YouTube of just people talking, like an ASMR sort of style, where you help people go to sleep. And I know there's at least one of my fans who listens to me to help them go to sleep. These are the bedtime stories, as it were. So yeah, I did think about setting up a video for ASMR kind of sleep help. So if any of you want that, I might just put a few more videos, on my channel of sort of go to sleep, sort of 10, 15 minute kind of relaxation sort of things. If that's what you want. I'm also looking, other than doing my book, I'm looking at doing fiction as well, because there's so much I can't talk about because I never got caught for it. and it would be dumb to sit here talking about all the crimes I didn't get caught for. And then the police, because I know there's a few policemen in there. I know there's a few prison officers listening to this. So welcome. I know you're lurking. Comment. We're all friendly here. So yeah, it would be good to do some fiction that was based on things I've done, but not quite got caught for. So, for example, the first story I want to do is going to be a 3-parter called Day Tripping, where a young lad from the southwest gets mixed up in drug dealing and gets out of his depth quickly. Surprise, surprise. And it's a really interesting story. I've got it in my head. I know where it goes. It's just getting it down on paper and then trying to obviously then record it as well. So I've got 2 things in mind: the book, my life story, and then the fiction. And like I said, what I'm going to do with the audiobook is it'll be me reading my own story, but then I'll be adding to it as well. So we'll do kind of little, after each chapter, we'll maybe do sort of 10-15 minutes of just kind of behind the scenes and, like the director's cut, essentially. So it's going to be really good fun. I'm really looking forward to doing it. I just need to knuckle down and actually do it. I wanted to talk a little bit about Dartmoor Prison as well, because it was supposed to close. It was supposed to be on its sort of closing down sort of cycle now, but I read in the papers that it's going to stay open. Weirdly, I quite wanted it to be a hotel. I would have loved to go and stayed there. And I was talking to someone in the comments slightly before, and it was, I could have done tours of the place because I've got such an extensive history there. I've been up to Dartmoor for a couple of holidays recently and seen the old place again. And nothing's really changed. They've taken my fence down now. I always used to tell people that if you ever go and see the prison, just look across the road from the prison, and I put a wooden fence up. But they've taken that down now, so that's a bit depressing. The mark I left on the place is no more. The farm looks shut. I don't think anybody's actually coming out anymore. Someone mentioned in the comments that the resettlement wing is just a normal wing now, which is a shame because the lads who actually went out from that wing really did benefit from it. We did take the piss, but we really did. It changed a lot of lives, and it was a good step forward. It was a really good step forward and a positive thing for that prison. But it's such a shame that it's shut now. But yeah, we can do some more stuff on that. I'd like to do some videos actually about all the prisons I've been in. One of the things I've done recently is I've passed my driving test since you last spoke to me. So yeah, I'm actually driving now. So what I was going to plan on doing one day is I was going to go to all the prisons I've been in and just going to have a look around the outside and maybe tell a little bit of a story about the place when I was there. So yeah, we've got lots of stuff to come up. Thank you very much for being patient. And like I say, welcome to all the new subscribers. Let's have a look. I think we've got loads of people joining now. When I first started doing this podcast, genuinely, I didn't advertise. I didn't do anything. I just used to talk into my phone and then put the videos up. And even back then, it would be months in between videos because there'd be about 10 people listening. And I always remember one of the very first comments was some lad. If you look back to one of my first videos, go all the way back to one of my first videos, and you see some guy commenting saying, "Oh, the only thing criminal about this video is that there hasn't got more listeners." And I always think about that guy. And if it's you, thank you, because you've really made a mark on me. But it is something that I want to keep doing. And we've got 1,456 subscribers now. So, gosh, we've really grown. But that's nothing really, when you look at the tens of thousands and millions of subscribers that other channels have. So we've got a long way to go. But considering I've done no advertising, all of this is word of mouth. All of this is just because you beautiful people keep listening to my videos and keep inspiring me to do more. If you haven't subscribed already, come over to Instagram. Come and say hello. It's William Bonny 838. You can message me, look at my face, do all the other fun stuff. It's a bit more human over there. I don't talk about prison so much. I just talk about myself and whine about how I've either been sacked or I can't find a job or, something else. One of the things I do want to start doing more of is sort of doing live streams. So when I record these videos, I'll also have a live stream on Instagram, and I might start doing some TikToks as well, because TikTok's the hot shit at the moment, isn't it? So sorry, Ruth, I almost made it through without swearing. Yeah, TikTok's the hot stuff at the moment. I've started doing a couple of little videos over there, but like with everything else, I've just procrastinated and not done anything for months. So yeah, as soon as I got the TikTok up and running, I'll let you guys know, and you can come over and listen. I'm going to tell the whole sort of William Bonny story again, because this time I know I've left little bits out, and I know I've messed bits up, and people keep commenting saying like for example, they were like, "Oh, how did you get bail when you was on armed robbery?" And I was just like, "Oh God, yeah, I didn't make that clear in my story." So I went not guilty all the way up to the point where we were just about to have a trial, and then I went guilty because my solicitor had instructed me that, do you know what, this is probably not a case we're going to win. And back then I was too dumb. I didn't understand the law properly, and I didn't understand all the little get out clauses, and it's so easy to beat a case if there's sort of 50-50 evidence, but I didn't know that back then, and I just went guilty. And I think I must have just had a good barrister at the time, because they gave me bail for the pre-sentence reports, because I've been on bail for months and months and months, and not fucked up, so they just gave me bail. That was the last time I ever got bail, because I broke every bit of trust that was ever given to me after that. So yeah. Do you know there's one article out there? We were Googling ourselves the other day at Christmas at work because we were a bit bored, and there is still one article out there. If you Google my name and the area that I live, you do find it. One of you guys actually messaged me one day, and they were like, "Oh, is this you?" And I was like, embarrassingly, yes, that is me. So do you know what? Actually, I'm going to give I'm going to give a special shout out to anybody that does find that article. It's depressing. It's at my lowest point. It's one of my shittest crimes. But the clues are all there, and one of you has actually found it before. So I'll give props to anyone who actually finds this article about me. It's not even in my area. It's in another area. I've got to get hold of Google and try and get them to take that shit down, actually. But yeah, I'm going to give special prizes to anyone who finds the article. So, good luck. Right, what else we got to talk about? I think that's about everything, really. I've rambled on for nearly 20 minutes. So, yeah, thank you very much for staying with me. Thank you very much for all the help and support that I know a few of you are giving me to keep my head above water. And thank you very much for keeping listening, everyone. We're going to get some more content out. We're going to get bigger. We're going to get better. And we've got some exciting things coming up. So thank you very much. Do all the things that YouTube likes. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, share it, enjoy it, and we'll speak again tomorrow.